Earlier this week, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent warned of tougher measures against countries importing Russian oil, cautioning that India could face additional pressure if talks fail to advance. During his presidential campaign, Trump had similarly accused India of financially supporting Russia in its conflict with Ukraine by purchasing discounted oil. And for more insights, we are joined by Professor Swaran Singh from the School of International Studies at Jawaharlal Nehru University. Hello, Professor. So Trump says great progress was made during the meeting, despite no deal being reached to end the Ukrainian crisis there. From India's perspective, does Washington's increased engagement with Russia bode well for planned tariff rate negotiations? Trump had accused India of financially supporting Russia.
Indeed, that is how India looks at it. It is not the best outcome from the summit meeting. Expectations, especially from American side, were much higher. But it's not the worst outcome as well. Both have indicated a very good chemistry, good body language, very strong optics. But of course, they could not clinch any major decision. But what is good side of the meeting is that they've agreed to have follow-up summit meetings. And I think that engagement is going to continue forward. So in that sense, I assume President Trump's anxiety, anger vis-a-vis President Putin and Russia is going to perhaps recede over a period of time. And he may not think of imposing any more sanctions on the pretext of India buying oil from Russia, or possibility between now and 27th of August, when the additional 25% tariffs because of Russian oil purchase is going to be imposed. There is a possibility of President Trump changing his mind and maybe putting a pause, the way he has put a pause on China, for example, for 90 days. President Trump, in fact, responded to the issue of India after the summit meeting to Fox News. But his comments were very confusing as of now. It was not clear whether he is going to continue with the tariffs, he's going to change his mind. So the indications were not very clear, but he also did mention China. And since he's put certain pause on China as far as tariffs are concerned, it is a possibility that given the new mood in American and Russian relations, there could be some relief possibility between India and United States, and possibly another pause on the additional 25%, if not on the base retaliatory 25% tariffs on Indian exports to America.
Well, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is expected to meet Trump next week in the U.S. Diplomatically, what actions there could be taken to soften relations, between Delhi and Washington?
A very clear indication from President Trump has been that he wanted to have a face-to-face meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India. During the G7 summit meeting in June, he had in fact invited Indian Prime Minister to have a stopover in Washington, D.C., which of course could not happen at that time. But usually Indian leaders, Indian Prime Ministers go to address UN General Assembly in a month of September. And that is a possibility that during that visit to New York to address UN General Assembly next month, there could be a possibility of Indian Prime Minister having a one-to-one meeting with President Trump. And I assume when the two national leaders meet face-to-face, there is a likelihood of a greater understanding, and maybe certain amount of give and take could take place during that time. And since many such examples exist earlier of countries having struck a deal on trade with President Trump and tariffs have come down to 15 to 20%, it's a possibility that in September, in the direct meeting between Indian Prime Minister and Chinese and American President, the tariffs could come down to somewhere there between 15 to 20% if there is a trade deal signed or agreed upon, which is to be signed maybe in September or October possibly. So that is a possibility unless the tariffs are put a pause before 27th of August, which is the date right now.
Okay, thank you so much for analysis, Professor Swaran Singh from the School of International Studies at Jawaharlal Nehru University. And you are watching